The discovery game changed again. It's not just that search is different or social is harder. It's that your audience is getting answers without ever visiting you. Google is handing them summaries, creators are handing them screenshots, AI tools are handing them recommendations, often without someone having to subscribe, click, or even know your brand exists. And in that environment, the old channel first buyer journey approach doesn't just feel scattered, it performs scattered. Yet, most teams still operate like the job is to do a little bit of everything. Publish a blog post, owned. Pitch a few stories, earned. Post on social, shared. Boost something if it seems to work, paid. With each lane running in parallel, led by different people or teams using different dashboards judged by different metrics and guided by different assumptions about what success looks like. That is not a strategy. That's 4 separate programs that occasionally bump into one another in the hallway. Visibility engineering is what happens when you stop treating channels as separate plans and start treating them as parts of a system. It's the deliberate practice of building authority and trust in a way that humans, search engines, and AI systems can recognize, validate, and surface because the signals are consistent across the places people and machines look for proof. Owned media is where you establish what's true. Earned media is where someone else validates it or proves the credibility for it. When those two work together intentionally, you stop chasing attention and start building an engine because AI and humans are looking for the same things. Is this clear? Is this consistent? Is it specific? Is it backed up? Do credible sources corroborate it? If your content says one thing, your spokesperson says another, your leadership team says a third, and the earned coverage doesn't reinforce any of it, you don't have a visibility problem. You have an authority problem. You have a consistency problem. The fix is to build a system where what you publish and how your work is validated work together. So your expertise becomes easier to find, easier to trust, and easier to repeat. That's why this week we're focusing on the foundation of visibility engineering, which is owned and earned media working together. I'll show you how to use the first half of your PESO model operating system without requiring a bigger team, a bigger budget, or a bigger tolerance for chaos.
If you're a communications pro who works hard, doesn't compromise quality, and gets the job done, welcome home. We'll share our tips, tricks, and stories, and together we will change the face of PR. Spin sucks, but we don't. With the Spin Sucks podcast, here's Gini Dietrich.
Welcome back to the Spin Sucks podcast. I'm Gini Dietrich. Before we get started, I have a little tidbit for you. Did you know that if you can't finish watching right now, you can subscribe to the audio version of this show? We're on all the platforms where you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple, or you can subscribe to our newsletter at spinsucks.com and get it in your inbox every Tuesday morning. Owned media is not the blog. It's not the website, and it's definitely not whatever we posted last week because someone needed something to share on LinkedIn. Owned media is your foundation. It's the home base. It's the place where you decide what's true about your expertise and then prove it like you mean it. The world we live in now is one where your audience is getting answers without you. They're getting summaries, snippets, screenshots, and AI responses that pull from whatever is the most consistent across the web. Not whatever you wish they'd read, not whatever your brand guidelines insist is on message, and not always what is the most recent or updated. So if your owned media is a pile of disconnected posts written by whomever had time that week, you don't have a content strategy. You have a scrapbook. It might be a pretty scrapbook, but scrapbooks don't build authority. The brands and experts who keep showing up as the answer aren't publishing more. They're publishing with intention around a small set of theories and themes that they can defend, repeat, and reinforce without contradicting themselves every time the algorithm sneezes. This is what I mean by structured expertise. It starts with themes that you can defend. It's ideas rooted in what you truly know, what your audience truly needs, and what you can back up without spiraling into just trust me, bro. Not trends, not content pillars you invented because you needed 4 boxes on a slide. Real themes that give your work a spine. From there, you build authority anchors. These are the few ideas you want to own so consistently that people start to associate them with you. These are clear, repeatable points of view that can show up everywhere on your website, in your executive comms, in your pitch angles, in sales enablement, and in the way other people explain your value when you're not in the room. And then, and this is what almost everyone gets wrong, you add proof. It's not just you saying it, it's other people saying it too. Proof is what turns we think into we know. Think of it as outcomes, data, methodology, customer or stakeholder stories, earned media opportunities. This is evidence. It's third-party validation that backs up the claim that you're making. Other people are saying you're great. Other people are saying you're the smartest person in the room so that you don't have to. When you have themes, anchors, and proof, something magical happens. Your narrative stops wobbling, and everything on the web that exists about you is consistent, which is the number one thing to consider when engineering your AI visibility. Consistency does not mean boring. Trust me. Sometimes I think, how much more can I possibly create around the peso model? Turns out, quite a bit. You may be bored with yourself. Sometimes I'm bored with myself, but I promise you, your audience isn't paying attention to even a fraction of what you create. But you know who is and who doesn't get bored? The LLMs. You're creating as much for them as you are for humans. When you do it this way, you build the foundation that your entire peso system can attach to. And once that foundation is solid, earned media becomes more than pitching. It becomes credibility transfer. It's validation that reinforces what you've already built and makes your expertise easier to recognize, easier to trust, and easier to repeat. So here's the thing about owned media before we get into earned. You can build the most beautiful foundation on the internet and still not be trusted. Not because your content isn't good, not because your team isn't smart, but because self-published expertise will always have a credibility ceiling. Humans know you control it. AI systems know you control it too. And that, my friends, is where earned media comes in. Earned media is a credibility transfer. It's what happens when someone outside your organization, someone your audience already trusts, validates what you've been saying all along. It's the external yes that turns your owned truth into something that travels. And no, this is not limited to traditional media anymore. Earned media lives wherever credibility is granted. Trade publications, podcasts, newsletters, analyst reports, respected creators, reviews, industry communities, partners, awards, academic mentions, association roundups, even I heard from you about you from blah, blah, blah moments that start showing up in real conversations. You know you've won when somebody says, I see you guys everywhere. That's the pinnacle of success. If it's third-party validation that reinforces your expertise, it's earned, which is why earned media is so powerful right now and why I believe comms pros have a huge opportunity ahead of them this year. Earned is the proof you cannot buy. It has to be earned, hence the name. You can buy reach, you can buy impressions, you can buy a lot of things. Choose wine, things like that. But you cannot buy the kind of validation that makes people think, oh, if they said it, this must be legit. That has to be earned. That's credibility, and credibility is the difference between being visible and being believed. This is also where visibility engineering gets sneaky in the best way because it helps you compound credibility. Compounding credibility is what happens when earn gets pulled into your foundation, it's woven into your proof, and it's reused intentionally. So the next earned opportunity is easier, and the next one after that is easier still. It's a loop. You publish a clear point of view with proof, owned. A credible third party validates it, earned. You fold that validation back into your owned ecosystem so that the next time someone is deciding whether to trust you, the evidence is right there. And because the story is now consistent across multiple sources, it becomes easier for humans to repeat and easier for AI systems to surface. That's what people mean when they say things like authority and thought leadership, but without the part where everyone nods politely and no one can explain what to do next. Also, and this is very, very important, earned works best when it's not random. If your earned strategy is pitch whatever we feel like this month or send a news release to 1,000 reporters, you're going to end up with a greatest hits album or nothing at all that makes absolutely no sense. One story about your product launch, another about your CEO, another about a trend you don't really own, another about a campaign you'll never run again. Congrats, you're visible. Yay! But you're not building authority. Earned becomes visibility engineering when it reinforces your owned media. When the story angles you pursue map back to the content that you want to be known for. When the proof points you pitch are the same ones your home base already supports. When each earned yes makes your owned media stronger and your next earned yes more likely. And when you do it that way, something else happens. Shared and paid stop doing the heavy lifting, which we'll cover next week. At this point, you can probably start to see the mechanism. Owned is where you build structured expertise, themes you can defend, authority anchors you can repeat, proof you can stand on. Earned then is where the expertise gets validated in the places your audience already turns to and already trusts. You put them together and you're not just creating content or chasing coverage, you're engineering visibility on purpose. And that is exactly what we have built inside the PESO model certification. Not as theory, not as here are some best practices, good luck out there, but as real outputs you can use immediately. The mapped ecosystem, the anchor hub, the proof points, the earned angles, and the plan for how it all connects so you're not reinventing the wheel every time you need to show up, prove value, or respond to the shifting discovery landscape. If you're ready to stop running 4 separate programs and start running a system that compounds, you can enroll in the certification now. Just go to spinsucks.com, go to the navigation, and click on PESO Model Certification. That's spinsucks.com, and then in the navigation, PESO Model Certification. Or if you're still kicking the tires, and that's okay too, I will be back next week to talk you through how shared and paid layer in to make this a fully functioning operating system. If you want to learn more about the PESO model and its certification, join us in the SpinSucks community. It's a great place to get advice, brainstorm ideas, and build real relationships with your peers. You can find us at spinsucks.com/community. That's spinsucks.com/community. And make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. We're posting tips, how-tos, cheat sheets, and more every week. I'll see you next week. Bye.